In this video, you create a door panel with an optional glazed vision panel with the aid of a custom family template. The family template already has several parameters created and families nested. You control the visibility of void and solid geometry and control the cut and visibility of the glazing panel with a yes or no parameter. We'll begin by creating a new family. In the Revit home screen, let's begin by selecting New Family. In the New Family Select Template File dialog, we'll select Door Panel Template and select Open. Of course, this will generate a new family. You'll notice within our family template that we have a number of different reference planes configured for us. We also have parameters created and assigned to dimensions, as well as several nested families within the template. We'll begin by creating the extrusion to represent our door panel. On the Create ribbon, in the Forms panel, let's select Extrusion. On the Modify Create Extrusion Context ribbon in the Draw panel, we'll select Rectangle. And we'll create our rectangle from the top left-hand corner, and then we'll snap to this intersection here. Of course, we need to constrain our newly created rectangle, so we'll ensure that we do that for all 4 of the lines. To finalize the extrusion, again on the Context ribbon, we'll select Finish Edit Mode. We'll now ensure that the extrusion is constrained in plan. To do this, in the project browser, under the Floor Plans folder, we'll open up Reference Level. We'll select our extrusion and zoom in. And we'll use the shape handle to actually change our shape. So we're going to actually snap the first part of the extrusion to this reference plane and constrain. And we'll use this shape handle to align and constrain to the bottom reference plane here. Okay, so our extrusion representing the door panel is now created. Let's take a look at this in the 3D view. In the project browser, under the 3D views folder, let's open up View 1. We can now see our newly created door panel. We'll now go ahead and create an optional vision panel. To do this, we'll begin by opening up the front elevation, and you'll now notice that we have some reference planes in magenta. These reference planes are outlining the vision panel position. Let's begin by selecting a Create ribbon, and in the Forms panel you note here that we have a drop down where we can select various different void forms. In this case here, we're going to select Void Extrusion. Again on the Context ribbon, in the Draw panel, we'll select Rectangle. We'll then create our rectangle over these magenta reference planes. Once again, we'll ensure that each of the lines are constrained to the relevant reference plane. And then on the Context ribbon, we'll select Finish Edit Mode. Again, to constrain the void extrusion in plan, we'll switch to the reference level plane. And here we can see our void extrusion. Once again, we'll utilize the shape handles to align and constrain these to the relevant reference planes. Let's now review our void extrusion in 3D. So again, we'll switch to the View 1 3D view, and we can now clearly see our void extrusion. Now this vision panel is optional, so we will need to control whether the vision panel is cut or not cut. To control this, we can go ahead and select the extrusion, and in the Properties palette under the Graphics group, we can see here that we have Cuts Geometry, and this is a simple yes or no built-in parameter. You'll notice to the right-hand side here, we can associate this to another family parameter. Let's go ahead and select Associate Family Parameter. In the Associate Family Parameter dialog, you'll note here that we already have a family parameter set titled Vision Panel. Let's select this and click OK. Okay, so our optional vision panel has now been created, and we're controlling it with a family parameter that has a property yes or no. We'll now place in our glazing panel. To do this, we'll switch back to the reference level. To place a new component, we'll select the Create ribbon, and in the Model panel, we'll select Component. In the Properties palette, in the Type selector, we can now decide which type of component we're placing. In this example, we want to place a glazing panel. Again, we'll zoom into the magenta reference planes, and we'll place out our glazing panel here. To exit the Place Component command, we'll press Escape twice. So we now need to make sure that our glazing panel is correctly constrained to the magenta reference planes. To do this, on the Modify ribbon in the Modify panel, we'll select a line. Let's begin by selecting this magenta reference plane here, and then we'll select the line work representing the glazing panel. Now I can see here that this isn't the correct line, so we'll use the Tab key, and you can now see that we are constraining to the glazing panel. You'll notice that this constraint is already made, and the reason for this is if we look on our line panel, we'll notice that the lock option is already checked for us. Let's also constrain the glazing panel to the central axes of our door panel. To do this, we'll select this reference plane here, and once again we'll select the central axes of our glazing panel, and again you can see that that's automatically constrained for us. To exit the Align command, we'll press Escape twice. Once again, we'll review this in the 3D view. So let's switch to View 1, and we can now see our door panel and also the glazing panel in place. The glazing panel already has its dimensions associated to some family parameters set up in this particular project template. Let's first review those associated parameters. In the project browser, under the Families folder, you can now see here, under Generic Model category, we have glazing panel. This is the family, and this is the family type. Let's right mouse click over the family type and select Type Properties from the context menu. We'll note here that all three of the parameters driving our glazing panel are already associated. So you can see here that we have glazing height, glazing thickness, and glazing width. If we look at the Associate Family Parameter button, we can see that we have an equal symbol displayed. This is informing us that these parameters are already associated. Of course, we can review these. Let's go ahead and select Associate Family Parameter for the glazing height. And I can see here that this is associated to a parameter called Vision Panel Height. We'll also select the Associate Family Parameter button for the glazing width. And again here, that's associated to Vision Panel Width. Okay, let's go ahead and select OK to Associate Family Parameter dialog and OK to the Type Properties dialog. Now the glazing panel already has a material associated to it. However, our extrusion representing a door panel currently doesn't have a material assigned. Let's select the extrusion representing the door panel. And in the Properties palette, you'll note here that we have material. Currently it's just set to by category. However, we can select the Associate Family Parameter button. And here I'm going to associate this to the panel material. If we select OK to the Associate Family Parameter dialog, we can now clearly see that our extrusion has changed colour. To understand the visualization slightly better, on the View control bar, we'll select the Visual Styles tool, and here we'll set this to Realistic. We can now see our vision panel and door panel displayed with the correct materials. We'll now test the functionality of the parametrics. To do this, on the View control bar, first we'll select Preview Visibility and we'll ensure that this is set to On. On the Modify ribbon in the Properties panel, we'll select Family Types. I've just repositioned the Family Types dialog so we can both see the door and our dialog box. Let's first check our Vision panel. You can see under the Construction group we have Vision panel, and currently this is checked. Let's uncheck this and select Apply. We can now confirm that the extrusion is not cut in the panel. We'll then recheck that again and select Apply, and we can see that's now cut in again. Let's also test the parameters controlling the actual vision panel position and height. We'll begin by changing the vision panel width from 6 inches to 3 inches and select and Apply. Of course, we can see the vision panel has now changed size, and of course the glazing panel has also changed as well. We'll also change the panel height from 6 feet to 7 feet, and again we'll select Apply. We'll notice that the vision panel stretches, and also the glazing panel has also increased in height. Okay, so we've now successfully created our door panel and added in our optional vision panel. Let's go ahead and select OK to the Family Types dialog.